Welcome back. We are here at Coffee, Cocktails, and Capitalism. I'm Morgan Reynolds, and this is Matt Fulcher. Hi, Matt.
Hey.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
It's kind of nice to hang out and not be working, right?
Working in the sun, sweating.
So Matt is a friend. He is a colleague, and we do a lot of work together. Matt is a business owner and entrepreneur. He also does a lot of other things. He dabbles in real estate. He might also be a professor. A lot of these things we're going to drill into today and see what the real deal is. But I really appreciate Matt owns Sunrise Multimedia Productions here in Vero Beach. And he and I have done a lot of videos together over the last couple of years.
Yep.
It was 9 just last year, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, if you count the 4 that we did for the campaign, right, it all adds up. So anyway, we can talk a little bit about that, but Matt complains that often my shoots involve blinding hot sunlight in the middle of the day.
Yeah, never in the morning and never in the late afternoon. It's always like 12 to 3, the hottest part of the whole day.
Listen, sometimes that's the client's schedule. That's not necessarily my call.
The client is always right.
That's
and we
right.
have to follow their schedule.
We just have to burn ourselves alive.
Yep.
In fairness, you do also choose to wear black clothing.
I do. I feel like darker clothes on me is like my style. So anytime I wear black or dark grays, I feel like I experience the sun at a velocity that's a lot much higher than it should be. So I think it's partly my fault.
So I want to do our really quick rapid fire. Just you and I know each other too well. We can just jump right in. But for the people watching at home who don't know you, and I really hope that you kind of learn a little something or maybe inspired by some of the different things that Matt's done so far in his career. He still has a long way to go. So Matt, where are you from?
I am originally from Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay.
That's an hour and a half northwest from here.
So fairly local.
Yep.
Age?
I am 27 years old.
Family?
I have one brother and one sister, and both my parents also live here in Vero.
Are you the oldest?
I am the oldest.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I am also an oldest child.
I'm sorry.
Oh, the pressure. We were actually just talking about that earlier. But what about animals, pets?
Yep, I love animals. I have one dog, a mini Australian Shepherd that has tons of energy. I love aquatics and fish tanks, so I have a 300-gallon pond with fish and a couple turtles.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Keeps me quite busy, and it's kind of my oasis. Like, away from work, I can sit on my porch, and I can just hear the waterfall, look at my fish, and that's
Not
fun.
be staring at a screen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, no, I get that. Also, favorite place that you have not yet traveled?
Favorite place? Ooh.
Like, where would you like to go?
I would like to go to
list?
Austria and also Croatia. That is my next bucket list place, I think, for the following year.
Now, where did you go last year?
Last year, I took a 2-week trip to Prague, Czech Republic. I've been there. I've already been there 3 times.
Oh my gosh,
and
I'm so jealous.
It's like literally one of my favorite places to go to. The architecture, the food, the lifestyle, the language.
I went there just for a long weekend when I was in college, and I was studying in Germany, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
It's honestly a life-changing experience, and I'm always encouraging my family and friends, like, go to Europe, go to the Czech Republic. It will forever change your life.
Do you think part of the reason you can appreciate it is because you're a creative and kind of a cinematographer?
So anytime I'm walking through the city, I'm always thinking with real estate photography in mind. I'm like, oh my gosh, these lines, like this type of detail, because, you know, we're so used to westernized architecture, and some of it here in Florida is, I don't want to say bland, but it's not as architecturally done as it would be like in Europe.
Right. It's certainly not as detailed and interesting sometimes.
Yeah, and down here we're very into like modernizing things, where over there everything seems to be a lot more historical.
Right, preserving everything.
Yeah, exactly. So the architecture is very different. But whenever I'm walking through the city, I'm always thinking, oh, this would be a great photo op.
But aren't you mostly taking photos the whole way?
I'm taking video. Yeah, I'm trying to make a travel video, trying to FaceTime my family. Like, hey, look at this. You're missing out on this. So yeah, it was honestly a life-changing trip.
That's awesome. Good for you. Congrats.
Thank you.
So I want to go back in time a little bit. Okay. We joked about like your origin story.
Okay.
But beyond your work here in Vero, which I know really well, I kind of don't know how you got into running a media company.
Yeah, Sunrise Multimedia, it started, I mean, just randomly. I was actually, I'll start from the beginning because it's like, there's like a whole thing.
But the tall tale. Everyone get comfy back at home.
So Sunrise Multimedia, I'm always trying to think of exactly when it started, but I remember when I was in middle school, I used to do the announcements. They used to have a little TV in the classroom, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, we would say the Pledge of Allegiance, and they would go over some like, you know, little school news, like the events that are happening. Right. And I remember taking a class in the 6th grade that was like a video class, and we had to make little videos. And in that class, they nominated the people to do the announcements in the morning. And after doing the announcements 1 or 2 times, I was like, I want to do this more. I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So from that, fast forward a couple of years, I ended up getting a job at Brookstone, which was a high-tech store in the mall that sold massage chairs. And sold
yeah. Like Sharper Image, kind of, yeah.
When the mall was really busy a couple of years ago, Brookstone was a very popular store near the food court. And at that time, I was demoing the drones that were inside the store to entice people who were walking by. Because at that time, the mall was pretty busy, so people were always walking up and down the mall.
The Vero Mall, are we talking about?
Yeah, Indian River Mall. And at that time, I was demoing drones, trying to encourage people, hey, like, look at this fancy drone. Like, come in the store, maybe buy something. And so I had a little bit of experience, like, flying a drone of some capacity. And a year later, I was no longer working at Brookstone. And Sam's Club had a sale on Black Friday, which is ironic because we're shooting this around Black Friday.
Right.
That was, I think, 8.5 or 9 years ago. They had a Black Friday sale on a drone, and it was for sale for $500.
Nice.
And my dad had seen a little flyer for it, and he said, you know how to fly drones. Why don't you go to the store and pick it up and buy it? And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, you know what? I have $500. Like, why not? Like, this is a toy that I have never considered buying, but something felt right.
Yeah.
And so I bought the drone. Didn't really know what I was getting into, and I started just photographing and filming like scenic areas in Vero Beach in Indian River County. Mm-hmm. And at that time, no one really had drones. Drones were a very new thing. And so when I published my first video with the drone, it had received 100,000 views in 7 days.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, oh wow, this could potentially be something. And I was in school for business.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, like, how can I, like...
So was this college now?
This was college, okay, yeah. I was like a sophomore in college, and I had a drone that had just gotten 100,000 views, and I said, man, like, this is really cool. Like, could I maybe use this for marketing or whatnot? And it eventually grew into me making more videos, and then real estate companies taking interest, hiring me. Mm-hmm. And then I had to make a choice. Do I want to stay with just the drone, or do I want to expand into more video production? Mm-hmm. And so eventually I started to think, what could I call my company? And I grew up on a street called Sunrise Drive.
Oh,
so I was like, okay, like, and you'll never see me in the morning waking up for a sunrise. I've woken up for so many sunrises, and they're so hit or miss. Like, you're either going to get a great sunrise or you're not. But Sunrise was the initial name because of the street that I grew up on. And so I came up with Sunrise Aerial Photography, and then it grew into Sunrise Multimedia Productions.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Very cool. So I think what's interesting is that you put up this video of, what was your first drone video, the one that got the 1,000 views?
So it was essentially like a tourism video. It was just the bridge and nature trails and going up and down the beautiful beach and over by Memorial Island, just showing like the scenic areas that kind of make Vero Beach.
Right.
And I put an Ollie Murs track behind it, like a nice upbeat, like lyrical track. And people ate it up. They absolutely loved it. And, you know, like I said, no one really had a drone. So seeing that vantage point from that low perspective, because airplanes, they can only fly so low. So you can't get that type of vantage point. And so it just really took off.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I think, tell me if you agree or disagree with this, but I've kind of often thought, because I'm originally from Chicago, and I've spent time working in the city. My parents live in the suburbs now, so I've also spent time in the suburbs. When you're a entrepreneurial type of person in a smaller community, sometimes there's more opportunity to kind of think outside the box and be the first at something. Do you feel like that's a benefit to a small town or not necessarily?
I think that's a good point. So I think as an entrepreneur in a small town, all the little ventures that you do growing up in that town, you start to build a network of people. So like I was a musician in high school and I used to host open mic nights.
Oh, okay.
And so when I did open mic nights, that eventually led to me building relationships with business owners who owned restaurants. And I did open mics there. And by building those little bits of network with people in the community, when I was moving on to Sunrise Multimedia Productions, I was able to kind of bring those people still with me to that new adventure. And those people ended up, potentially hiring me because they were real estate agents or they were business owners themselves. I think it's a little bit harder sometimes when you're not from the area because we live in such a small town that the locals like to work with the locals that are familiar with the high schools. Like, oh, what class did you graduate from? Or remember when this business was in town? Or and Vero Beach has transformed a lot through the last few years.
Right.
People who lived here 10 years ago, they'll tell you like the traffic and all the new buildings and the road expansions, the population has grown.
A lot of new housing. All those snowbirds moved here permanently.
Yeah, but I think even if you're not from Vero Beach, there's a lot of room for opportunity because there's a lot of services that Vero doesn't have yet. So if you lived in a city before that had all of these options, but those options don't yet exist in Vero, you can bring those to Vero Beach. So I think that it depends on how
you look at it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pluses and minuses, I guess, like there is for everything, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think there's advantages to being a local and advantages from coming out of state. And I do see it on like Facebook pages where potential business owners are like, what do you want us to bring to the community? And everybody wants an Aldi's, but we'll see if that happens.
Right. That's true.
Yeah. So hopefully no more mattress stores and storage facilities and dollar stores.
Well, they did pass an ordinance now that you're not allowed, can't have any more storage units within the city limits.
Well, that's good.
But also, not to get into small town politics, but the city limits are fairly small. Yeah. So there's still a lot of county room.
Vero's got a lot. I mean, west of 95 has so much potential. That's still considered Vero all the way up to, I think, like Yeehaw Junction where the turnpike is. And that's all.
But it's unincorporated.
Unincorporated. So depending on what they do with that could be a completely new area for
Vero. No, there's a lot to do, but it kind of has to be done at the county level.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right. So your video went gangbusters. You started Sunrise Multimedia. And now tell us kind of about a day in the life. You do a lot of different types of film and video and projects and work with a lot of different types of people.
A day in the life of Matt Fulcher or a day in the life of Sunrise Multimedia?
Well, I mean, both are interesting, but why don't you give people kind of an example of like over the last couple of weeks, what's a range of the different projects that you have been working on?
So over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a variety of projects. We do a lot of real estate media. So we take a lot of photography, video, and 3D scans of homes that are for sale. So that's a very busy thing because the real estate market really drives the economy and there's always listings. Even though the interest rate is where it's at, people are still selling their houses. And in order for them to do that, they need photos and videos to, list their homes. So we do that throughout the week.
Real quick, what is a 3D scan?
So a 3D scan is essentially an immersive 3D tour that a person can have done on their home. So instead of having somebody walk through your house, they can walk through your house virtually. They can see everything as if they were standing in your house. And so during COVID, we did a ton of those because people were not wanting to have tons of germs.
So that was a service that you offered pre-COVID.
We did. We offered it during pre-COVID, and it just essentially makes it easier for people to see the inside of your house without intruding on your space. And so we do a lot of those on luxury homes or homes that are maybe on an island. For an example, we have an island in Grant called VIP Island, and the only way you can get there is by boat. So it's very inconvenient if somebody wants to like go there and see it because you have to coordinate a boat to pick you up and drop you off. So it's a virtual tour is really helpful for stuff like that. So besides the real estate media, we've been working with Captain Hiram's to do a promotional video for them. And we're shooting that, just all the fun things that you can do at a resort here on the East Coast.
Working with our buddy Kirk.
Working with Kirk, one of my favorites.
Shout out to Kirk. Kirk, you should come here sometime.
Yes,
be on the podcast.
I absolutely love Kirk. Other than that, we've been working on some tourism content for the county. So just promoting the area through showcasing businesses and restaurants. And currently we're working on the nightlife episode. So that's been a lot of fun. Besides that, honestly, it's just every day is a different project. And that's part of the experience of video production is you're always out and about trying to find something to film.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there is such a, and I wonder if it's like this in other communities, like Florida is kind of special, right? It's kind of known for the outdoors and wildlife. Is it more of a thing in Florida and Florida towns that we just love to have all this beautiful like landscape video and drone work and things like that?
Yeah.
Are they doing that in the Chicago suburbs? I don't know.
Probably not.
Look at this beautiful field of grass.
Yeah. No, over here the weather is, it's always sunny. Like even we're in November and it's still kind of hot outside.
No, it really is. Yeah.
And like you can shoot the beach 100 times and people will still watch the beach footage.
Yeah.
I see so many pictures of the Barber Bridge, and it's like it never gets old. Like it's always the sky might look a little bit different, or the green or the water might look more blue. I feel like in Florida, people just love it. Like you'll always get
You can just keep soaking it in.
You could go out there in December. You could go out there in winter and still get beautiful footage. So that's just, I think part of the lifestyle that you get when you live in Florida is the sun.
Yeah. Like it or not, right?
Like it or not. But if you don't like the heat, then I don't know what to tell you.
Got to get out of the kitchen, I guess.
Yeah.
So other than the video stuff, you teach? Still teach? You used to teach?
I still teach at the college. It's been 5 years as an adjunct professor.
That's crazy.
I know. I think a lot of people are quite surprised that I still have time to do that with the business. I used to teach in person a lot. I've kind of gradually shifted to the online. And that is just for the sake of being able to give 100% to Sunrise Multimedia, but also being there for the students in a capacity that works for both me and the students. And in this point, the college has really shifted to online because a lot of the students favor that.
Right.
They would rather, they're working, they're 9 to 5, and they would rather do their classes at home. But yeah, I've been there for 5 years, and I love it, honestly.
So how did you get into that?
So I went to school. I got a master's degree in marketing. I graduated when I was 22. And I just saw that they were looking for adjunct professors. I didn't really think I was going to get it, but I happened to know the dean, who was one of the previous professors that I had. And that just grew into me being an adjunct and teaching marketing. And I think they really enjoyed that I was a younger person working in the local business environment.
Right.
Because the textbook teaches you a lot, but it's very corporate based. And when you work in the local business environment, you're working with local business problems.
Yeah.
And when you can teach students something that they could potentially apply to their own knowledge or apply to their own situations, maybe if they want to start a business one day, or maybe they're working in a family business environment. And I think the college really kind of understood and appreciated that. So, working at the college has been great. I try to break away from the textbook and teach them, like, bring people like you in, or bring other marketing professionals in, or nonprofits in. I'll have Phil Barnes come and talk about how his whole business is run, and like tell us about the marketing and what you've done, and tell us about your problems in the business, so that they can kind of understand and grasp that from a local sense.
Yeah. I want to understand, I guess, a little bit more, like what do the kids think marketing is about? What are some things that you kind of have to teach them based on like your real world stuff that maybe isn't in the textbook, or what are some assumptions that they have that you're kind of like, actually, it doesn't roll like that? Yeah, not everything is sold on TikTok, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think a lot of it has to come down to trends. So understanding like certain platforms as well, because certain demographics, for example, like the older demographic, they may not necessarily be on like Instagram and Snapchat. They might be more into like reading, so they targeting them with ad content that's maybe off of like a newspaper that they're reading online. If you're trying to reach a younger demographic, Instagram, understanding those like types of platforms that are going to best reach them and the type of content that is the best to reach them.
Right.
I really talk about content creation because that's a really important aspect of marketing. Like there's the research aspect.
And you're not biased at all.
I try not to be biased. Obviously, I'm a young person. I favor like social media, but I do understand like print marketing and radio advertising. They have their own kind of.
They have their place. Yeah,
they do.
Absolutely.
And so, I definitely do push, understanding like who your demographic is first. So if you own a small business, who's the customer who's always calling? Is it a woman between the ages of 30 and 50? Is it a man between the ages of 20 and 40? And then from there, kind of breaking it down. And I think understanding the research aspect, and then from there, figuring out what promotional aspect fits that narrative.
Yeah.
That's, I think, a big part of understanding marketing for students.
Do any of those students, has anybody graduated and started working locally?
So when I teach the in-person classes, I'm really watching to see which students seem like they're really like 110% passionate about it. Because a lot of students are going to school, they're taking these classes, and then they're just going off and doing their own thing. And it may not even be marketing related. They could just be getting the degree for a management position somewhere.
Right, something else.
And so finding somebody who has not only the skills with some light graphic design, some light content creation, but who's really, taking it the next step. And so I've helped 2 students in the past specifically that I saw their potential early in. And I said, hey, I want to like hold your hand and see how far I can take you with this. I actually got one of them a job working in hotel marketing for a firm that manages multiple hotels across the country.
That's cool.
And they took it pretty far,
Wow.
but I think they eventually decided to get into some other type of business management.
Yeah.
The other one, I got them an interview, but I don't remember where else they went with that. So I'm always looking for people because I know a lot of companies are looking for a marketing person to help. And so the internship that the college offers is a great opportunity for that student to understand if that is an area of marketing or business that they're interested in.
Yeah.
And it's honestly a wonderful experience working at the college because I know that I'm actually helping these students learn about the marketing world.
Yeah. It can feel really rewarding.
It is super, and that's half the reason I do it.
Yeah.
Because as an adjuncct, you're not getting paid like
that's
a salary.
Not how you're making the big bucks.
You're not making the big bucks. So you're really doing it for the sake of passion, and it's a little bit of passive income. But I don't do it for the income. It's more for the sake of. I have a master's degree that I don't really use for Sunrise Multimedia, but I can use it to teach other students how to excel.
That's cool.
Yeah, so that's been really fun.
So outside of what you learned in your master's, what's some stuff that you've had to learn on the job?
Oh, on the job? Oh my goodness. Video production is such a loaded career because for every type of production you do, there's a different style of editing and there's a different style of shooting and a different style of handling customers. And anytime you're an entrepreneur, whether it's video production or marketing, the most important thing is understanding customer service. I work with a lot of brides because I do wedding films and wedding photography and photo booth. We do a lot of things in Sunrise Multimedia. And the way that you work with these clients is a little bit different. The way that you communicate with them, the way that you market. When I'm marketing to weddings, to wedding clients like brides, I'm also advertising to their moms because it's normally the bride's mom who's also looking for those services. And when I'm reaching out to nonprofits, my tone of communication might be a little bit different in my emails and the type of content I send to them. I've had to do a lot of paid advertising to kind of see, what reaches people the best. So with Instagram, I reach a lot of brides, and with Facebook and radio advertising, I'm reaching more like corporate nonprofits. But man, being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's not a 9 to 5.
No,
it's 24/7.
Yeah,
I'll have clients reaching out to me, it's 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. Hey, can you do a shoot for me tomorrow? And I'm like, absolutely. I don't have kids. Absolutely. I'll be there.
Right.
So, yeah. But yeah, it's honestly, as long as you have a drive for excellence and you're just, you like what you do. I think part of it is, not feeling this, I can't wait to get out of here. But if you enjoy truly what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
And every day is an adventure.
Yeah. Well, we could end it right there. But I want to know more. So, owning your own business is 24/7. And it's interesting. There's kind of a lot of conversation always, at least since I've kind of been in the business world, about, work-life balance and, self-care and mental health and all those things. And that is important. But also, I think sometimes when you're the business owner, you kind of have to maybe make some sacrifices or make some choices about when that's important and when sometimes it's time to just push through stuff. Sure. Do you feel like you've kind of had to work at balancing some of that stuff?
So I think work-life balance is something I used to struggle with because I would prioritize the business so much. When you're building a business from the beginning, you're learning a lot about the business. You're learning about the craft. And I think once you get to a point in the business where you feel like you have a handle of things, you're not doing as much like learning the craft, like you're just running the business.
Right.
Like you're always learning like a little bit, but you're not taking it in as much.
Yeah.
I remember when I was first starting, I was up till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Not only was I editing, but I was learning how to edit. And so that took a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears. I think now at this point, I have more of a drive for having a healthy lifestyle. So delegation, having a team, and also prioritizing family as well, because money does come, but it also goes.
Yeah.
And the thing is if you're only driven by money, it's, you gotta live. And everybody, most people work half their lives away or more than half their lives away. So that's why I like taking those trips. I take those long trips. I prioritize family time when I can. When I don't have weddings are like one of those things I can't cancel. I'm at those weddings.
Sorry. Yeah.
But hanging out with friends, taking weekends off when I can, because I like to work, and it's very natural for me to want to work every day because it's fun. It's an adventure. So I think just having that important family time, and I have a dog too, so I have to like take her on walks and enjoy.
Gotta spend time with the pups.
Absolutely, top priority. So. But yeah, I think at this point, now that I have kind of a grip on things, I think I have a very healthy work-life balance.
Yeah.
When you first start out, that's when it's like a little stressful.
Yeah. And, one of the things you had mentioned to me earlier is that you think this might be one of the businesses that you own in a lifetime.
Yep. I think it is. Sunrise Multimedia it's kind of like my little baby. It's like you literally grow this thing.
Your first kind of big venture.
It is. Yeah. And I absolutely love where my business is. It's like a part of me, like part of my personality. And I love it. As an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for the next opportunity. And I think I'll always own Sunrise Multimedia in some capacity. I may delegate it to a part of my team that I trust. I'm currently moving into more of like a rental business that I started recently, where I'm managing a couple rentals. And I'm always looking for businesses that are for sale. I don't want to do anything in food, but I have always looked at like vending machines. I looked at bounce houses.
Yeah. I
looked at car washes. And as you know, Florida real estate and Florida businesses are very expensive at this time. And so I'm always just kind of keeping my eyes open.
Right, in case there's a good deal
or
something. Yeah.
And I'm always looking at land. Vero Beach is very busy right now. There's a lot of people moving into town, but there's still opportunity. There's still land available. You might drive past a piece of land, and 10 years from now, that could be something. It could be a hotel, or it could be a gas station. And so if you always think with that opportunistic mindset, you always raise questions whenever you're driving through town. This area seems like it could use a laundromat. Or this place could use a dry clean. So I'm always thinking with that in mind. And I'm not sure yet what the next business will be, but I'm keeping my eyes open.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think there's still... I know you're not a real estate agent, but you work very closely with the business. And I think something I hear a lot of is that the real estate market here, number one, is crazy, right? We all know it's expensive,
yep.
right? Florida's in high demand. That being a realtor is an oversaturated job market, that it's too expensive to invest, or there's no opportunity for young people.
Yep.
And you are arguably, or not arguably, a pretty young person. He told me the other day, he's like, am I the youngest person who's been on your podcast? And I was like, listen, I know I'm old, but you don't have to rub it in. So
I feel like an old person. When you own a business and you work all the time,
it does kind of age.
Yeah. So mentally, I'm like a little aged.
You can become a little cynical sometimes, get a few more gray hairs.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see gray hairs. So
are you?
I'm oh man, maybe I should take a day off here.
Well, because, you'll just be distinguished or whatever. But yes. No. So side note, my husband started getting a lot of gray hairs when he was in the military, and then he was finished with his contract, and he really started taking care of his health, and like half of them went away.
Oh, nice. Okay, so there's still a chance.
So I do think there's a little chance to, if you start taking care of yourself, you can reverse it. But
cool. Okay, well, I'll definitely need to do that.
Mental note to all of us. But so the real estate market here.
The real estate market here
is there still opportunity?
There's still opportunity. As a real estate photographer, I work with a lot of agents, and I worked with over 100 agents, and I'm always...
Do you keep track of that?
So I keep track of it in my head. I don't write it all down. I'm sure if I wrote it down, it'd probably be way over 100.
Yeah.
But I'm always asking questions, and I think that's one of the most important things that you can do as an entrepreneur is asking good, solid questions. And sometimes those questions may not be so good, but you learn what questions to ask that have value to the conversation. And so when I'm not talking to the homeowner, I'm talking to the agent. Like, what's your listing price? How does it comp in the neighborhood? What are your thoughts about investing in the neighborhood? And some agents are investors too. So I'm always asking, hey, and some of them are 40s, 50s, 60s. What kind of advice would you give to me as someone who's trying to invest more in this town? And I've gotten so much great advice that I have started compiling, just things to kind of keep in mind. Right now in Vero Beach and in Florida, insurance has skyrocketed. And so
that's something everyone's kind of talking about.
Yeah, and so that's one of the most important things to kind of look at when you're trying to invest in real estate is what is the insurance going to be on this building? And at this point, it's hard to find a good solid house for less than $400,000. And that's the unfortunate truth of this area.
Or if there is one available, it just goes like immediately.
Yeah. It's gone. But you're dealing with a little bit of inflation in the price because people obviously they want the most that they can get. That's fair.
Right.
But you're dealing also with the interest rate, which is it's 8% or more at this point. And so when you're dealing with a little bit of an inflated price and the interest rate, it's hard. And from an investment standpoint, as an investor, I'm always looking for homes that I can rent out. And so after the mortgage is there and the interest rate, is there an HOA fee? And because of the collapse in Miami with the condos, insurance companies are spiking their policies, and so HOA fees are going to go up. And so there's always there's like a cost factor involved, and you really kind of have to evaluate that. There is a high demand for rentals. So with that said, the risk is kind of, it's worth taking.
There's a high reward as well as the risk.
There's a huge reward because there's always people looking for rentals.
Right.
And so for me, I'm not a flipper. I'm not interested in flipping houses, but I want to have a business where I have renters. And
do you do long-term or short-term?
Long-term, yeah. So I've looked at Airbnb. I think Airbnb and VRBO is great, but I don't know if it's for me. I like long-term rentals. I like building relationships with good tenants. And you just have to find good properties that will attract good tenants.
Yeah.
If I personally wouldn't live in the property, I won't buy it. It has to be something that I know that I would comfortably live in.
Yeah.
And I feel like that will attract the right type of tenant.
Right.
So, I would definitely say there's opportunity, but you have to look for it. Like every day I used to look at realtor.com and Zillow just in case.
Right.
And I would look every single day. I look at land and I look at condos, townhomes, and houses.
And just keep your eyes out.
I always look out, have an agent on standby. I use my brother. And, Yeah, he's
nothing
always,
like a little healthy nepotism.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's always roasting me. He's more of a flipper, and because I'm more into renting, he's always like, don't do that. It's not worth it. But I'm like, it'll be fun. So, yeah.
Well, I think what you just said is actually a really important point for business owners, entrepreneurs, is that sometimes you just have to kind of trust your gut, even if it doesn't always make sense to everybody else.
Yeah.
And I think also sometimes you have to like do what feels right to you, and just know even if it doesn't work out, like you're glad that you did it, you know?
Yeah, and you have to have confidence, and because you'll always deal with people's commentary on their thoughts, and if you're confident in your own ability, just go take it.
Yeah.
Because, who knows? Like, you see all these businesses that took a leap of faith.
Right.
And sometimes that leap of faith leads them to failure. But if you continue to try and try and try, and I'm really critical on trying to minimize my risk. So just doing a lot of research beforehand, that will help.
Yeah. Well, research can be just empowering in anything that you're doing, right? So, I think one of the reasons why I like being in marketing is because the internet's kind of at your fingertips, right? And so you can always Google more things.
Oh,
you can always, like dig a little deeper. I love going down a rabbit trail on my phone. Like I'll scroll through like the Google articles, like suggested, and then you're here, and then you go here, and then you're like, oh, well, what happened with this? And, but I think having kind of a curious mind is really an asset. So don't try to like squelch that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, you just have to look for opportunity. It may not be real estate. It could be a little small business. I know a lot of entrepreneurs are always keeping their eyes open, whether it could be small. It could be car detailing. It could be bounce houses. It could be, being a photographer. And it starts with something small, and then another opportunity comes, and they can decide to move on, or they could stay where they are. And for me, I'm always looking for the next opportunity that kind of fits my energy.
Yeah.
And so it's been fun.
What made you start doing the photo booth?
The photo booth.
Because that was a little bit later in the game, right?
I expanded. I'm always looking for ways to expand the business, because
it's all about meeting a need, right?
It is. It's all about meeting a need. And because I offer a lot of wedding media, I was always thinking, what if I offered a photo booth as well? Because that's something I frequently see at weddings. And before I started in video production, I did sound for weddings, sound for events. So I wouldn't say I was a DJ, but I was like an MC. I knew how to run sound. I knew what music to play, but I was a little shy behind the mic. So I just kind of like...
You were not like...
I wasn't like a Jay Barwick. Like I was very like...
DJ Khaled or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little more quiet. And so I... because of my experience with weddings and working in that industry, I'm always looking to fill that need. And because brides are reaching out to me for photography and video, why not also offer something else that they could have at their wedding, being like kind of like a one-stop shop. And so the photo booth was something I expanded into about 2 years ago. It was kind of a leap of faith, but I had done some research on who was already offering it. And in Vero Beach, not many people were. And so that's kind of the beautiful thing about working and living in a small seaside town, is that some of these services are yet to be saturated per se. Obviously, real estate agents, it's kind of a saturated market as a real estate agent. And if you're a portrait photographer, that's really saturated down here. But video and photo booth, like those are two skilled services that haven't really hit the market, in their full capacity.
Yeah.
And so I saw that, and I absolutely love photo booth. I think it adds a beautiful element to weddings and events and whatnot.
Yeah. And that's been going well?
It has.
Did you say you're off, like adding another one or something?
We have 2 now.
Nice.
Yeah, they're not cheap, but they're a lot of fun. And honestly, we've done birthdays, corporate events, weddings, and it fits my brand well. Like I can make photo strips and prints and make props, and and if they're already having us do photography and video, why not include a photo booth as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a crowd pleaser.
Oh, it is. Oh my gosh, there's the long lines like continuously.
Right?
Yeah, it's fun.
That's perfect. Speaking of marketing things, you just recently rebranded.
I did.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what prompted that and the process and everything?
So I made my first logo when I started the business. I used a template from my video program. I just wrote Sunrise Multimedia. It had like the design already. And I thought,
so how many years ago was that now?
That was, I made the logo, I think 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I thought it was, all businesses to some degree go through some type of rebrand or some logo change. You see with Dunkin' Donuts, like they rebranded to Dunkin', I think it is.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? Why don't I change my logo to something that really kind of fits where I work? And so when I was getting the logo designed, I was thinking, we need to showcase the area and the beautiful surroundings that I call home, which is Vero Beach. And so I included a sunrise. I included the water because we live in a beautiful seaside town. And I had gotten some great logo submissions. I had over 230 logo submissions.
That's so crazy.
We had lighthouses, we had mountains, we had drones, we had all kinds of really cool ones.
Do you remember what the prompt was?
The prompt, oh man.
Because you used like a collective, right?
I did. So my original prompts didn't necessarily yield the results I was looking for, so I threw in like some crazy logo ideas. I gave them like the Universal Studios logo and the Paramount Pictures one. I said, make me something like this.
Okay.
And the designs got better.
Okay.
But I had some crazy ones in there too, like ones with kids holding like a magic wand with like 5 stars. So I'm like, that's a Paramount copy.
That's hilarious.
But I finally found one. I did a little poll to see like what people thought about it. And I finally got one. So now I just have to put it on the website and on some apparel and we'll be good to go.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So that's going to be the logo that we carry for years ahead.
That's awesome. That you may leave as a legacy to the next person in line.
Yep. I'm very excited.
All right. So AI. It's the hot buzzword right now. Yep. Everyone's very excited about it. Everyone's trying to convince people they know how to use it and what to do with it. Listen, folks at home, before you sign up for some like AI class or expert and spend money on it, like we were saying, do some Googling, do some of your own research and stuff like that. How do you see that maybe being something you use or don't use? Or
Yeah, AI is honestly amazing. See how fast it has moved in the last like year, 2 years. Like
That's
it's
true.
Amazing how fast and how well Photoshop generative AI is unbelievable when it's paired with video. I think it's going to grow 10 years from now. Imagine where AI will be because it's grown so fast in the last 2 years for consumers to use. We use it, obviously, ChatGPT is like a very popular consumer and professional AI. And we use that for prompts for like our social media. We'll use it to help us with script writing for some projects that maybe we need a little bit of more creative understanding of. AI has been, we use it for questions for interviews.
Oh, nice.
I did that recently with the McKee video. We did it early in the morning and I was drawing a blank mentally. I was like, this is too early for the shoot. And I asked it a few questions and man, it gave me a long list of the people that we were interviewing. They were like, man, these are some really advanced questions. So it's super funny.
That's awesome.
So AI has come a long way. And honestly, I know that it will eventually start taking opportunities from people who are working in the design fields and copywriters. And so there's that threat for those individuals working in that industry. For video, I know it's growing in more of the editing sense. But I've truly enjoyed the use of AI for my own company.
Yeah.
It works. We'll use it for, I was telling you before, I've used it I threw a couple selfies in there and had a couple portraits come out of it. Questionable ones. I had one where I was like an astronaut.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
Okay.
Getting like super realistic stuff hasn't been effective for me, maybe for other people. I know some people like get headshots out of it.
Oh, yeah.
That has not been the case for me.
Well, that's what really got me going on it because during COVID, what really helped me keep my sanity is I kind of somehow became a part of like marketing Twitter.
Yeah.
And connected with some people that kind of through like the HubSpot community and different stuff like that. And so they're the ones who are always kind of like, oh yeah, totally using this new app, And I'm like, what? How did I not know about that? So, especially again, kind of living in a smaller community, I think it's really good to kind of keep your keep your reach in, different communities. So you're really learning from people who are rubbing up against different people. And
Absolutely.
That's how you keep challenging yourself and stuff.
Yeah. And that's a trend. That's a marketing trend. AI. There's so many people that still don't know anything about ChatGPT. I have clients that don't know anything about ChatGPT. I'm like, this is a great tool.
It's so funny. I have so many that like come and tell me. They're like, oh my gosh, Morgan, I was using it. And it's like they're in their 70s or something.
That for the last,
right.
Year and a half we've been using it, and they've just discovered it.
Right. But it's like the fresh new shiny toy on the street or whatever.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I think it is it's like a challenge then to figure out how to use that tool to up your game. So you're not being replaced by it, but you're using it so that you're better at what you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's like
it's just another tool in the arsenal.
Mm-hmm. So, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, we've used it for a variety of production, and we'll continue. I downloaded it on my phone, so I have the app now.
Nice.
And I'll just ask it questions about, just to enhance our scripts or enhance the questions that we're asking or give us more ideas. And it's been great.
Yeah. One of my friends used it to prompt an outline for like a documentary he's doing to help kind of start putting the pieces together and stuff like that. So definitely something people should play around with, like in your free time.
Absolutely.
Let's reminisce about maybe some of the tougher moments in owning a business, in cinematography, filmmaking, commercial making. We don't have to get like too deep and dark, but what are maybe some tougher things that like that was just a really rough day, or that was a rough client, or even when something like this happens, like it totally sucked at the time, but you move on, you get past it, and then like your business is still okay, still moving forward.
Yeah. Let me think. That's a really good question. I will say that I do get stressed out every once in a while. Like sometimes everything just kind of hits you at once. This time of the year, we get a lot of jobs that are all hitting us at once, and it's hard to edit quick. And so we get a little bit stressed out with that.
Yeah, you said you have like 5 weddings.
5 weddings, yeah, that's a lot. So a challenging moment in the business. I got to think about that. There's been a lot of challenging moments in the business. So I think something that people should know about when you're an entrepreneur is that the money that you're making, the revenue that you're generating is never guaranteed. Sometimes you'll have months that you're super busy and you're making a ton of revenue. And then there are other months where it could be weather related. Maybe we have a hurricane. No one's buying a house during a hurricane. Weddings, sometimes are getting pushed. I will say that will always be something that somebody who's not 100% committed to business-wise will struggle with. And I think even if you're business committed, you'll struggle with that because so many people are used to safety.
Yeah.
They're used to guaranteed income, which is, honest, I get it. It's safe to know that you always have a job. It's safe to know that you always have money. And so as an entrepreneur, you never know what's going to come through the door. Tomorrow we could have another pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I know during COVID, that's when I had the most panic. And actually, I bought a house during COVID. So I was thinking to myself, oh man, was this a bad purchase?
What did I just do?
Am I going to regret this in 30 days?
Right.
And so you really just, as long as you keep money in your business. I know a lot of people, they rip out as much money as they can out of their business. And when things get hard, like we saw it during COVID with airlines, they were taking out huge sums of money, and how much they're making, billions of dollars a year in the airline industry. But as long as you have a safety net, you're spending money in a responsible manner, and a lot, like I said, a lot of businesses, the owners are just ripping as much money. They're not investing it in the business.
Right.
So
right.
As long as
which can be hard to do sometimes. Like that's kind of a discipline to.
It is absolutely a discipline, but I think it's an essential discipline for longevity. Businesses that do reinvest in themselves, whether that be training employees or investing in new tools, new systems, investing in just expansion. I think those are the businesses that will surpass that 5-year mark, because that first 5 years is what is really going to dictate, like, most businesses fail, I think, within like 5 years. I think it's 80%.
I thought it was 3.
It might be 3. It's probably worse if it's 5 years, but I made it past the 5-year mark. Thank
Right,
God.
right.
So,
congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I was a little worried, but through COVID, but we made it through.
Yeah.
And
well, that was definitely an uncertain time for everybody.
I think so. And I think I know a lot of businesses, unfortunately, didn't make it through COVID. But whenever things like that happen, other businesses emerge.
Right.
And so that's just how it is, though, in the business world. Sometimes it doesn't work out for a certain business, and it opens up an opportunity for another.
Yeah. And just because you try something in your business or you try a certain type of business and it doesn't work out, that doesn't mean you can't be a business owner, and that doesn't mean you're not an entrepreneur.
Just the opportunity or the timing wasn't right. And so
you learn from that, and then you pick up and you kind of do the next thing.
Yep. And that's the type of, and it's all about your personality and your confidence. Some people will be so scared after the first failure that they'll just go back to what they were doing before, job-wise. But if you're willing to, try to rebuild and try another opportunity. They always use the Disney guy as like the Disney. I think it was the Disney guy that he failed like a couple times, and then he eventually like pitched it and they got accepted. And there's a lot of people who have failed at businesses, but they just kept going and going, and now they're making tons of money.
And once people get to that level of success, sometimes like you don't know about the failures, you know? So it's easy to look at some of those businesses and be like, oh my gosh, they just keep making money hand over fist. Like they can do nothing wrong, but just nobody's done their biography yet. You don't know how many things they had to overcome.
Oh yeah, 100%. And so you don't judge a book by its cover.
That is very good advice.
Yeah.
Well, are there any kind of parting thoughts you want to share with entrepreneurs of tomorrow, our local business friends and colleagues?
Yeah, I think some very simple advice. Don't give up. Follow your dreams, and don't be scared to take a risk. Obviously, take calculated risks so that you can minimize failure, because nobody likes, I don't like to fail.
Right.
So I'm
That's
sure
not the ideal. It's not the goal.
Sure over 99% of people don't want to fail. But failing does offer you an opportunity to learn. If you can learn from other people's failures, however, that's really, really effective, because people do fail. It's a natural thing. And so when you can surround yourself with people who are maybe doing what you want to do one day. I wanted to be a business owner, so I made my circle of friends a group of people who were business owners. And one of those people, Chris Woodruff, was one of them, Dale Sorensen Jr., and there was a handful of other people that were working in that kind of space as business owners. And by having that type of influence in your life, it can really encourage you to ask questions. It can encourage you for growth. And so something that I'd like to leave with is your closest group of friends. If you can make your 5 friends in your group, but if your 5 friends in your group are business owners, there's a good chance you'll be the 6th. And so if your 5 friends are alcoholics, you'll be the 6th. If your 5 friends are business owners, their influence will rub on you. You'll be the 6th. And so I think a lot of people, they want to eventually become a millionaire. I think that's a goal that a lot of entrepreneurs have. So what's stopping you? You try to surround yourself around people who are in that position, who are making those types of decisions, who are leaders in their industry.
Yeah.
And that influence will potentially rub off on you, and you could be the 6th. And so circle of influence, try to make your circle of influence, something that will inspire you and potentially influence you to grow in that area, and just stay driven. That is great advice. Do you have a favorite book? Favorite book that you've read recently? Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a really good mindset book. That's a classic. That's a classic. I think anyone who is a business owner or thinking about being a business owner or thinking of being an entrepreneur, read that book, because it's all about mindset. And I'm not a book reader, all right? Yeah. I don't have attention span for reading books. Okay. But when I read that book, it really changed my perspective on how I was approaching like business and entrepreneurship and money, understanding, using debt. And Robert Kiyosaki is, I think, also a really good influence. Using debt to build wealth, and that could be through like businesses or real estate or whatnot. But Yeah, that's a really good read.
That is awesome. Well, I really appreciate you kind of sharing so much of your time with me. I know you're super busy. You have lots of things to film, and
that's all right. I always make time, so
well, I do appreciate that. So let everybody know how they can get a hold of you to film their next event or commercial or real estate gig.
Yeah, if you need to reach me, I'm always next to my phone, and I think customer service is super important. So if you call me or text me, chances are I will text or call you immediately right back.
Very responsive, yes.
But you can reach me at my website, sunrisemmp.com, or you can give me a call at 772-713-6378.
Nice.
And very easy, simple, and quick.
Okay, so call, text, visit the website.
Yeah.
And make your business more known through really awesome video.
Yeah, video photography or photo booth.
That's right. All the things. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We're going to drink some more coffee and get back to work. And do you still have more work to do today?
Yes.
Yeah. I do, too. No rest for the weary. So cheers. Thanks, everybody.
See you next time.
Thanks for being here, Matt.
Of course. Thank you.